age 22, he fell really hard, was sure this was the one. They had this great, passionate 2-month relationship, and then his girlfriend dumped him and went back to her ex-boyfriend, who she'd dated since high school. And so Kyler got really depressed. Not like, I'm a little sad I got dumped, just like depression, like wouldn't leave the house. He would wear sweatpants and no shirt almost exclusively. One time, I came into his room and there was like a yellow splotch on his bare chest. And I was like, what is that? And he was like, mustard. I was like, when did you eat mustard? He's like, I don't know, a couple days ago. This is the level of depression. Like mustard fell on him. He's like, I'll just let that dry. I'm not gonna deal with that. He would listen to The Cure all day, and he would skip like the fast songs. So like Just Like Heaven would come on and he'd skip it. Like, can you imagine being that depressed that it's a great song. You don't skip that song. So me and my roommates are pretty worried about him. And part of the reason, this went on for several weeks. It went on for longer than they'd actually been together. And part of the reason was this girl he'd been dating, her name was Jessie, she kept in touch with him. She would call him, she'd come around, and she would say things like, I don't know if I made the right choice, I miss you, I don't know if it's working with my boyfriend. And so it's clear to us that Kyler was her plan B. Like, you know when you're watching a show and then you flip over to another channel during commercials? Like, that was Kyler. Like, he was the human equivalent of Law and Order on TNT. Like, that's the purpose he was serving for this woman. So we were like, we gotta snap him out of it. We're going to throw a party for Kyler. And also because we liked parties. We threw a lot of parties. We did hope it would cheer him up, but we did throw a lot of parties. So we're like, we're going to throw a party. We'll call it a celebration of singlehood, and it'll be great. And so we get the party together. We invite a bunch of people. We invite some pretty girls we know, and we clear out all the living room furniture, and we make a dance floor. And the party's going great, and we're having a good time. And we get Kyler down, and we get him a little drunk, and he's dancing, and he's having a good time. And we see him smiling for the first time in months, and we're so happy. And then this girl, Jessie, shows up. Kyler had told her about the party, of course, because he's still in love with her, wanted her to come, she'd come. And we're bummed, and he stops dancing, and they go off together, and they're talking for a while, and then... So late in the night, I want to find Kyler because I need to tell him about this thing I've invented. I'd combined Sprite and beer to make a beverage I called Sprite Beer. And it was great. It was like an artisanal Zima, delicious. And I was like, Kyler's got a great palate. He's gonna love this. I gotta find him. So I go looking for him. He's not on the dance floor with Jessie. He's not out in the backyard. He's not in the basement. And so I go up to the second level where the bedrooms are. And inside his bedroom, he and Jessie are sitting on his bed, and they're very close, and it's clear they're talking about something serious, and Kyler's cheeks are just soaked with tears. He's just crying. He's really upset, and I'm like, what's going on? What happened? And he gets up, and he shuts the door, and he locks it. And so I go find my other roommates, and I tell them what I've seen, and we're all furious because he'd been having a good time, and she had to come and make sure that he still loved, she had to pick at that scab, and we're like, we need to do something. Because she is not going to get back with him, and she's not going to leave him alone. We have to do something, and we don't know what to do because her pull on him is so strong. And someone says, it's almost like it's supernatural. And we're like, yeah. And someone else is like, yeah, she's like a demon that's possessing him. And we're like, yeah, she is like a demon. And someone says, we should have an exorcism. And we're like, yeah, we're going to have an exorcism. And like when you're sober, you'd be like, yeah, that would be funny if we did that, right? But when you're drunk, you're like, we're doing that right now. So what do you need for an exorcism? Holy water. We did not have holy water. What we did have was a 72-ounce Big Gulp cup and tap water. So we filled up the novelty Star Wars cup all the way to the top. We had a brief blessing ceremony. And then about 5 of us went upstairs to his bedroom with our holy water. Here was our plan. Step 1, throw the water on Jessie. That was it. We thought that would solve everything. We're like, this is the plan. So we get up to the door, and I knock, and everyone's poised behind me like SEAL Team 6, ready to rush the compound. I'm the negotiator. I have to talk my way in. I eventually convince Kyler that I need to borrow one of his print CDs to really get the party going. So he opens the door a crack, and I shove it open. I'm like, go, go, go. And they run in. Someone tackles Kyler to the bed to like cover him and protect him. And Ian, the point man, holding the holy water, walks in right into Jesse's chest, 72 ounces of holy water. As he throws it, he yells, "Back from whence ye came, demon." She is soaking wet. There is a pause of shock in the room. She can't believe it happened. Honestly, we can't believe this has happened. And then it snaps into chaos. Kyler starts crying, partially because we soaked Jesse, partially because we got a little on his computer. I take my shirt off and start drying off his computer. I'm like, sorry, it wasn't meant for your computer, it's for her. And then Jesse is yelling. She gets right in Ian's face, the one that threw the water. She's like, you asshole, you son of a bitch, how could you do this? I'm soaking, it's the winter, why would you do this? And all he will say, he stands perfectly upright, and all he'll say calmly over and over again is, the Lord's work is done. He just keeps repeating this, and the more he repeats it, the angrier she gets, and finally, she realizes she's not going to get a better answer than that, shoves him out of the way. She runs out of the party. The entire party sees this soaking wet girl run out of the party, and then Kyler follow after her, still crying. Everyone now thinks we're assholes because we dumped water on a girl for no reason. It's like they don't even know how demons work, apparently. We hear Jesse's car drive off. Kyler comes back in. He yells at us. He also calls us asshole. He runs into his room. He slams the door. He locks it. And pretty much the plan was a total failure. It did not work out as we had intended. Or so we thought. 2 months later, Kyler's back to normal. He's coming out. He's smiling. He's the normal fun guy we loved. And we didn't notice it at first, but after 2 months, I was like, hey, you seem like you're feeling better. He's like, yeah, I am. He's like, when was the last time you talked to Jessie? And he was like, that night you threw water on her. And I was like, so the exorcism worked. And you could tell he like didn't want to give us credit for such a dumb thing. He was like, well, I don't, maybe. And I was like, it should not have worked. Why did that work? And he said that what we did was so dumb. He realized we must have been really worried about him and really distrustful of her. And the more he thought about it, he was like, someone, if she loved me, she wouldn't keep me on the hook like this. She would have just been with me. And so that night, he'd realized that she didn't love him like he loved her. And so he'd started to move on. So that was why he thought maybe this dumb thing we did worked. I, of course, know the real reason it worked. She was a fucking demon, you guys. That's my story for tonight. Thanks a lot, guys.